Okay, UFC 285 took place this weekend with the main event being Jon Jones making his comeback fight against Cyril Gane. Now, I'll be honest, so I did a preview for this fight and I predicted Cyril Gane to win via unanimous decision. I felt on the feet he would be too quick for Jones, and with Jones taking the 3 years off, I thought it'd be a hard fight. Didn't think it'd be impossible for Jones to win, but I felt like it would be just a rather difficult fight, especially considering this is the fight he's coming back to. However, it went as one-sided as I think I've ever seen a heavyweight fight of recent years. It was an absolute one-sided, or even one-sided beatdown. It just happened so quick. In the fight starts, Gane, essentially the first sort of shot he throws, first kick, it goes below the belt line, and they give a little 10, 15, 20-second break. Comes back the fight. And, you're thinking, okay, let's see what happens. Jones looked big in there. And he was marching forward, trying to assert the dominance. He did have a bit of a weird thing before where they kind of had to cut the plaster off of his toe. Because I think it was the toe that he broke his same one against Chael Sonnen. But I think it was... I think the toes were like together and you're not allowed to do that, I guess. I don't know what it was, but either way, it seemed a little bit dicey at the start. When stuff like that happens with fights, sometimes it can be a mental thing where it might throw him off the game. Didn't throw Jones off though, because Cyril Gane, I think it was a right hand he threw, a right hook, he ducked under at Jones, got Gane down, and then you're thinking, okay, this is where Gane, the question marks were in this fight for me, and for everybody. How does Gane deal with the grappling of Jones? He says, to his credit, he didn't expect Ngannou to grapple. So, we'll give him the leeway and say, okay, let's see how he does. And also, Ngannou is built like an absolute incredible Hulk. So, naturally, he gets a hold of you. It's going to be hard to get him off. So, Jones does the same thing, though, gets him down. And you're thinking, how's he going to do that? Jones did, I think, an excellent job, I felt, when he got Gane down there, of letting him carry the weight. And I think it kind of tired Gane out, but Jones then gets him into a guillotine. He didn't seem like a super tight one, but I think because of the way his body was, the weight that he was putting on, it almost forced Gane to tap, and it was beautifully done. It wasn't like the most masterful guillotine I've ever seen, but it was, again, it's the weight placement. This is why Jones is so, this is why he's the GOAT. His fight IQ is another level, and he knew exactly where to put himself in the position. He knew what the right technique was for the position. It was a masterful finish, and what was the time on it? I feel like it was about 4 minutes something on the clock. It was very, very early, the stoppage, and it was shocking to me how easy Jones made it look. It says 2 minutes 4 seconds on the submission, but I don't know. It just feels like it was so sudden the way it happened. And for Gane, I don't know. I would expect Gane to put more of a fight, but it's one of those sometimes. You face a guy who just brings the worst out of you from a fighter, and I still maintain I think Gane would have done better if he was on the feet, but I don't know. Jones just got him down and got him in the right position, and excellent finish. And I never felt there was a question if Jones was the GOAT. He is to me, and it just solidifies it heavyweight champion now. I do want to say I don't think I really saw a lot of Jones to say how he'll do against other heavyweights, but I don't really look at his division. I think many people beat him. I think the only thing that could beat Jones is time if he just gets old and washed. But as a fighter, one thing I'll say about Jones, he looks strong in there. And that is something that really struck me, is how big he was. And I do wonder if he loses speed. And again, we don't know. On the feet, he looks a little bit sluggish, but nothing really you can judge off. And for Gane, I feel for him, but he said he was angry at the post-fight. And you should be angry, because he really put in, and I mean this in a respectful way, because Gane's an excellent fighter and he seems like a nice enough guy, but really put in his thinking, because got taken down, wasn't really able to get back up, and I don't think that Jones was grappling was of one with him. I just think that, it's a similar sort of thing what you see with a lot of fighters. It actually is, it's something that happens with Bilal Muhammad fights as well, where some guys just, they know what to do with the right position at the right time, and it's an underrated skill that people don't really look at it as much. There are so many wrestlers who make mistakes of putting their heads in guys' shoulders so they can get guillotine, or there are fighters who really, I I don't know, they just don't use the brain sometimes when they fight. But Jones, you can never say he doesn't do that. Jones does that every single time. And for Cyril Gane, I mean, he'll come back. I'm sure he knows if he can do anything more. Maybe you could sell a rematch, but I don't want to. I mean, nobody wants to see this again after that. We want Jones to have all fights. But if Gane can maybe beat some contenders, maybe he'll be back. But for Jones, it's sky's the limit. He's been out for 3 years. And one thing about Jones, when he came back after beating Gustafsson the second time, he then fought Smith, then fought Santos, then fought Reyes. He fought back-to-back in very quick succession. So I feel like he'll do the same this time. He's been out for a long time, so I think he'd want to get the ring rust out. And him and Stipe is the fight, the heavyweight GOAT in Stipe and the MMA GOAT in Jones. I think it would be... I mean, I'll be honest, Curtis Blades, I'm really intrigued. It's the grappling that I'm interested in, because Jones' striking to me doesn't look as... the last few fights didn't look great, and in this fight we didn't get to see it really, but he didn't look... I'd imagine his striking is not going to get that much quicker going up a weight division. I think it'll be the same, so... I'm just interested to see how Jones handles a lot of these guys. I do think he beats all of them. If I look at all the heavyweights out there, none really. Curtis Blades is the only one that I think could present a bit of a challenge. But other than that, I think he gets through a lot of these guys with minimal discomfort. I think he really has this division on lock. If Ngannou comes back, which I don't think he... Well, I won't say... Maybe never say never, but Dana White says he doesn't think he'll ever come back again, but we all know Dana's word isn't that good for anything. Never said women would fight in the UFC, and Ronda was out here doing all sorts, and now co-main event we got one. He said that McGregor Mayweather will never happen, and then we were seeing it happen live in Las Vegas. Like, you just can't trust Dana's word for anything, so I wouldn't really take too much into what Dana says in that regard. I would like to see Ngannou and Jones. I also think Ngannou was not smart. He left the UFC just as that division I think was getting rather interesting with Jones coming back and Gane in the picture. So I do think it wasn't smart for Ngannou to do that. But you know, if a guy ain't getting paid, what you gonna do, especially from where Ngannou comes from? So I don't blame him. But excellent finish though. Jones solidifies himself as the GOAT. Again, I don't think it. To me, look at what he's done. I know people talk about steroid tests and stuff, but to me, I go off the body of work of what you've done, the guys you've beat, and how you do it. And the guy beat DC, he beat Gustafsson. He beat both of them twice, even though the second one was a no contest. You know, beat Shogun, beat Vitor Belfort. You know, Jones has just ran through virtually. I don't know. It feels like every light heavyweight great. You know. He ran for Glover, went back in the day, so there isn't a guy I look at and I feel matches what Jones has done. I do think Jones had the advantage of the weight, and not the weight, but the weight and the reach advantage. But ultimately, you can have a reach advantage. Look at Neil Magny; it's great having it, but making the opponent pay and really knowing how to utilize it is a completely different thing, and I think that's what Jones has done very, very well in his career, and is continually doing so. I felt he timed the takedown really well when he got gone there, and yeah, it almost like it ended as soon as it started, pretty much, and I don't think you can really comment much more on that fight over then. We just got to see Jones back very soon. I think we'll see him soon. There haven't been many active champions recently in the UFC. Adesanya and Usman were the last, but you know, obviously Adesanya lost his last one, and Usman had the injury, and then he fought Leon, and now he's lost. So those two are without belts. But I would like to see some of these guys. I like to see Makhachev defend his belt more often, more than Khabib. Khabib was a bit unlucky with COVID and had the ban from Las Vegas. But regardless, wasn't exactly an active champion who's constantly defending. And I think the same with Whitaker. Remember, he was injured for a long time. You know, looking at Volkanovski does seem to be a bit more active, but I like to see him be more active, to be honest. But regardless, though, hopefully Jones can get active and not hold the heavyweight division up, because that's what Ngannou was doing for so long. And we need to see this division active. We need to see way more heavyweight title fights, and I'm confident we'll see it with Jones. Him and Stipe again. Intriguing fight. We'll see what Stipe is like after so long out as well. Stipe is a much better wrestler than Gane, so it'll be interesting to see on the feet if Stipe can do anything. Personally, I think Jones just picks him apart for 5 rounds and maybe he finishes him or coasts to a decision. I don't really see Stipe doing much more than what he can do. Stipe is a great, but I just not the same guy. And I also think it's Jones is a hard one for anybody. And I think stylistically, I think Stipe would be very good for for Jones. However, you never know. If Stipe can roll back the clock, I mean, we saw Jan Blachowicz do it, saw Glover do it. Why can't Stipe? And Stipe is, to me, well respect to those guys, a better fighter than Blachowicz and Teixeira. So, yeah, an amazing finish from Jones, though, and he caps off. He's now a weight world champion. He obviously vacated the light heavyweight belt, but won the belt in light heavyweight. And if he can do the same in heavyweight, that's something that nobody has done yet. McGregor beat Alvarez to get the second belt lightweight, but never ever defended it once. DC beat Stipe for the heavyweight belt and had the light heavyweight belt simultaneously, but didn't really defend either that many times. He fought Derek Lewis once, I think, for the to defend it, and then I think he fought Ozdemir as well for when he had both belts, but he then lost to Stipe in the rematch. So, and then Yuka Cejudo didn't really defend his flyweight belt. I mean, he didn't really defend the bantamweight belt that many times. I think he fought Dominic Cruz and that was it. Nunes somewhat defending both her belts, but let's be honest, the competition in those divisions is non-existent. So yeah, no, there's not been a double champ. I think it was a guy who's dominated one division and then gone on to dominate the other division. I think if you can get a guy who can do both, and Jones would, I think Jones has a very good chance of doing that, especially at heavyweight. So yeah, I think that would cap off his GOAT status pretty nicely. Jones as well, I think he isn't exactly the oldest guy, which is something I've really just sort of noticed. He's only 35. And I say only, people might think what you're on about. In a heavyweight division that is not as talented, you could go into your 40, I think. And I think you can have 5 years of Jones. Really, barring any mishaps with drug tests and stuff, I think you'll be seeing this guy dominate heavyweights for a long time. So yeah, incredible finish for Jones though. For Gane, I like to see, obviously Jones is fighting Stipe. I would like to see him and Curtis Blaze. I know he's fighting Pavlovich, but I still think him and Blaze would be so intriguing. But you're going to see him and Stipe next. Hopefully that is soon. I'm definitely going to be this year. It's only March that we're in, so yeah, I'm interested. For Gane, there aren't many. I maybe like a Tom Aspinall or someone like that when he comes back from his injury. So just something like that. I think Gane is another one. He didn't take any damage in that fight except from the choke. So yeah, I think that's why he would be annoyed. He really did not show up for the fight. But either or, an incredible turn of events though. And yeah, just my quick review of Ciryl Gane versus Jon Jones. Jones takes that heavyweight belt and confirms he is the GOAT in mixed martial arts. So yeah, Jones, Gane, and until next time.